Welcome to the Forward Together webinar series, brought to you by the School of Management at California Lutheran University. The series is designed to bring interesting topics and people to our global community of students, alumni, and leaders in business and government to empower, educate, and inspire. Forward Together features experts from industry with the purpose to spark thought, connect people, and stimulate engaging discussions. Please submit your questions in the chat. We will hold a Q&A immediately following the presentation. Today's host is Gerhard Apfelthaler, Dean of the School of Management.
Good afternoon, and many thanks for joining us for this episode of the Forward Together webinar series. My name is Gerhard Apfelthaler, and I'm your host for today. We have a phenomenal guest, Stefan Mund, with whom I share a common native language, and who is the Vice President and Regional Head North America at multinational company Henkel, and also a member of the Dean's Executive Council here at our school. Stefan will speak and then answer questions on COVID-19, crisis management and recovery scenarios, an example from the multinational beauty and hair care industry. Stefan will first deliver a presentation and then we'll open it up for questions. So without much further ado, I'll turn it over to you, Stefan.
Thank you very much, Gerhard, and bear with me with my German accent. It's an absolute pleasure speaking to you today and hopefully providing you with some valuable insights on crisis management and how we as Henkel, and specifically in the beauty care industry, we have approached this. Before starting, let me introduce quickly myself. I'm about 30 years with Henkel. Have been working for this German-based company in Germany, but also a couple of European countries in different roles and responsibilities. Have been in Japan, worked in Australia, New Zealand, and since 2014, I'm now regional head of the beauty care professional business here in North America, which is based actually around the corner of the university in Culver City, Los Angeles area. My educational background is economics, and I studied in my hometown in Germany. So, and I'm living with my family here in Culver City. So what do I want to speak today with you about is to introduce to you Henkel as a company, specifically also the beauty care professional business, but also then specifically talking about how do we manage crisis, how do we see the crisis, and how do we see different phases of crisis. And hopefully at the end, we'll also be able to give you some insights on some key learnings and some takeaways, if you want, for you, which will be hopefully helpful for future crises to come. So starting with Henkel at a glance, this is a family-owned business, 20 billion euros, so quite a big business based in Germany. And we have more than 50,000 employees around the world in more than 140 different countries. And you see the number of nationalities, which is quite a diverse employment. Henkel is a business with three areas. Industrial business, which is mainly adhesive technologies, and this goes from car industry, aeronautical industry, it goes to medical industry, packaging, adhesives, 3D printing solutions. So it's a big part of our business, and Loctite is a brand which is probably well known to some of you. Then we have on the right side the laundry and home care business, which where you have here in the US some brands which you probably will also be aware of, Purex, All, Snuggle, Persil are brands which we are manufacturing and supplying in the US. And then the last part, the beauty care part, where we have quite strong positions around the world as a number 3 position worldwide. And for the professional business, the business I am responsible for, we are the number 2 in North America, in Canada, and the US. If we look into our portfolio, just to give you a bit of a general impression. So on the left side, you see our sales by business unit. So nearly 50% of our sales is generated in the adhesive part, 20% is beauty care, and a bit more than 30% is laundry and home care. And then you see sales by region. Western Europe is still the biggest region. However, the US is by far the biggest single country around the world. And speaking now for a second about the COVID crisis and our portfolio, you can imagine that we see different developments in different segments and parts of our business. As an example, in the adhesive part, automotive industry There is no manufacturing at the moment, so we are suffering here enormously. Same is true for aeronautics. At the same time, we see a spike in demands for adhesive solutions in the medical supply area, but we also see a spike in packaging and food industry. In laundry and home care, we currently see spikes in regards to detergent products, cleaning, surface cleaners, sanitizing, hygiene products. So as you can imagine, here is actually a positive business development. And in beauty care, we see also different challenges, and I will come specifically towards the challenges we are currently facing in the professional business. However, you can imagine that personal care products such as hand sanitizers, liquid soaps, bar soaps are currently commodities and products which are very much demanded for, and where we see a spike in demand. So speaking now a bit more about the professional business. So my business here in North America takes care on developing, manufacturing, and supplying, distributing professional products for use in hairdressing salons. So our end customers, if you want, are stylists, and they are servicing our end consumers, which are in the chair for salons. So when we speak about the scope of our business, we are talking roughly 200,000 classical hairdressing salons, 45,000 barbershops. Nearly half of those employees working in salons are so-called booth renters, so they are independent contractors working in salons. Business size is about a $3.6 billion business, so quite a substantial part of our business, and it's by far also the biggest single country around the world. Business was doing well. The CAGR, the average growth rate over the last couple of years was 1.4% for salon services, so it was a quite healthy industry, and about 1.2 million licensed hairdressers, because you need to have a license here in the US and in Canada to provide services to end consumers. 1.2 million is quite a large number of employees. Looking at my business and business development, we have acquired over the last couple of years very successful mid and smaller sized companies, which are all working in this professional arena, and have developed a very comprehensive but also a very competitive portfolio within house. So you see here our development over the last couple of years. So we acquired successfully and integrated successfully new brands, providing very specific services, working in different price tiers, having focus on specific product capabilities and categories. And we are now, as I said earlier already, the number 2 here in the North American market in both countries, the US and Canada. Going a bit more deeper to get an understanding on where we do sell our products. We have 3 different target groups. I've put your attention on the target group area. So we are targeting independent salons and stylists first, and we do this via different distribution channels. This is our main part of the business. Second, we are also targeting directly salon owners. And third aspect is end consumers, which are looking for professional solutions and professionally designed products, and they are purchasing these products, for example, at customers such as Sephora, Ulta, you might know Sally, but also alternative channels such as more and more now in e-commerce. We see department stores and home shopping as alternative channels as well. So this to just give you a general impression on our business, which leads me now to go concrete to the COVID-19 situation. So looking at our very diverse channel, you can imagine that we have a also quite impactful situation now with COVID-19. I want to go through 3 different phases of crisis and how we responded as a company to it. There are 3 phases. The first one is the crisis now. So suddenly, not only here in the US, but we saw the developments in East Asia, in China, in Wuhan specifically, but also then further elaborating in South Korea. We saw developments in Europe, specifically in Italy, but also France, Spain, Germany, and other countries. And we recognize there is a development coming up. So the first phase is the crisis now. And I will spend a couple of minutes on explaining on how do we address the situation and what is actually happening in a crisis now situation, the outbreak. The second part is the preparation for what is going to happen in future. And by managing the crisis now first, but at the same time anticipating the next steps which need to be taken, has taken a lot of our time. And it's very important to not only manage the crisis at hand, but also looking at the potential scenarios, the opportunities in the future. And last but not least, I will give you also a glimpse in my presentation on what we are looking at, on how the new reality will look like and what it means for our industry when we step by step and probably very gradually start to reopen businesses. So just to phrase our situation as a professional business and what we recognized happened some days mid of March to the 24th of March. Today's situation is still that 96% of all salons in the US are closed. So you can imagine if this is our business, and a quite substantial business, and we are accounting for 50% of our global professional business, this is a clear lockdown. It's a shutdown of opportunities. And we had a situation that our customers could not provide their services to end customers. 1 million stylists and colorists are furloughed, laid off, and are not having any income anymore. About 10,000 stores, such as Sephora, Sally, Ulta, I named them earlier, have closed their doors, and there is no ability actually to provide our products to them. At the same time, we see that the e-com business and opportunities in B2B, business to business or business to end consumers, is spiking. However, this part of the business, even here in the US, is most advanced, but it's only counting for about 10% of sales. We also had to recognize that parts of our portfolio was not necessarily essential. So executive orders of governors around the state were not including our products. Essential products in general are seen here in the US, products such as shampoos and conditioners, so hygiene products for your hair if you want, but a hair color, for example, or hair styling product was not seen necessarily as essential. So we had to face a couple of tough decision processes in regards to how do we continue working. Third aspect is we have also here in the US, but also in the region, including Latin America, some production sites. We have distribution centers, and they were differently impacted by the executive orders. In some states in the US, we were not able to either manufacture part of our product or to distribute part of our product. So most of our employees, specifically, of course, administration employees, marketing, sales, supply planning, supply chain management, were and are working remotely from home, with the exception of our employees in production sites, which were still allowed to work there, and in our distribution sites. So just to give you a scope of what we had to deal with. So when we are looking into our crisis management scope, we see three different areas we had to take care of. These three different areas and centered is how do we deal with our own employees. And you will see in my next couple of charts also that this has been a key important message for us. It was important to immediately address the concerns and the necessities for our employees. What does it mean for them, and how can we make sure they feel safe, they are healthy, and how are we going to support them? Next, and evenly important, we are looking at our customers and our suppliers. Customers, those I have mentioned early on, but also our suppliers, because we are also relying and dependent very much on ongoing supply. And third, and not unimportantly, is community. So this is our the enlarged community, if you want. How do we address these kind of crises, and what are we going to do in order to give an understanding on what we do as a company and how we are going to support? And on the right hand here, you see some of the aspects which in the crisis now situation we had to immediately approach. So just a couple of examples: sourcing and manufacturing. You can imagine that in today's world, a lot of packaging materials, raw materials, are coming from Asia. So we have seen already at a very early stage this year that some sourcing was very, very difficult to get from overseas. We see some limitation, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the ability actually to manufacture here on site, for example, in the US, as there are executive orders in place. So in this crisis management now situation, in this outbreak, we had to quickly react on saying, what are the executive orders referring to, and in which way do we need to act and address? You can imagine that legal aspects play a major role here. It is the way of how we are communicating, but also what does it mean in regards to legal obligations we have, contractual obligations to customers, to suppliers, but also legal obligations to other entities. As said, distribution centers and logistics was a part we were looking very specifically into. Can we maintain a certain part of the business? I spoke about the fact that e-commerce is spiking. So how do we ensure with limited ability to actually continue shipping products to our customers, that we can still maintain the ability to enhance and accelerate business on human resources plays a major role, and employees were very much in center and in focus of our consideration. So we were looking into our opportunities, how we are going to support our employees during this time. How do we continue to engage with them? Other aspects, of course, include the financial impacts. You can imagine that with 96% of our business closed, this has major and severe consequences also on our profitability, on our achievement of results, business results. So we are looking into how do we see these crises, how do we interfere with the immediate consequences, but also how do we see the recovery phase coming up. Research and development and other aspects were in safety and of our employees, but also safety of locations and sites were key aspects in consideration of the management scope and of the crisis management scope. Speaking about the employees, for us it was very important, and I think it's also important to have a true north in a crisis situation. Just speaking in general, every crisis comes very quick. There are new information coming up every minute. A crisis is a 24/7 situation. So it is very important to have very quickly a true north orientation for your own organization and to tell them what you are striving for in managing through the crisis. For us, it was very important that our message to our employees was very clear. Our number one priority is to protect the health, safety, and well-being of our employees and their families. And the same is true also for the safety, health, and well-being of our customers and the community. So everything we could do in this regard was an absolute paramount. Second important information for our employees was we safeguard your jobs. We are not laying off. We are not furloughing our individuals, even though at this point of time, your role has significantly changed and you might be limited in your ability to do your job, which you usually would do. And this was also true for the compensation. So on a global level, we have communicated this to our employees that despite this massive crisis and the financial impact of this crisis, we are safeguarding jobs and compensation. Last but not least, we want to lead through this crisis to ensure that we are getting stronger out of the crisis than we were going into the crisis. We see crisis as an opportunity, and depending on how we manage this crisis, with a lot of disruptions we are currently facing, we see the opportunity to get out of this crisis stronger than we went into this crisis. I spoke about the three elements already, and I give a couple of examples in the way of how we have responded to these different phases of crisis. You see, in regards to the situation, I spoke about the immediate impact, the outbreak. There you have to deal with the uncertainty. Salons are closing, business decisions are being taken, product shipments being returned. Somehow the economy was paralyzed and is still paralyzed. At the same time, we were preparing then also for the future. So how do we reactivate with prudence? How do we take away uncertainty of markets, of our customers, of our suppliers, and how do we communicate to them on how we are going to approach the future. But at the same time, also speaking and looking very specifically into our target group, our stylists, our people working in salons, what are their concerns? And their concerns is how to bring back end consumers, which are now staying at home, which cannot be provided with their service. They want to have a haircut, they want to have a hairstyling, they want to change their hair color, or they want to cover their gray hair, and they have no opportunities at the moment. So how do we encourage in this phase of recovery preparation, but also the reopening phase? How do we support our stylists in bringing back end consumers into their salon? Very important to know for you that stylists, and I mentioned earlier that 50% of stylists are independent contractors. So the day the salon closed, they lost their income. And some of them do not have even the opportunity to claim for unemployment support. So the health crisis today is moving to a financial crisis tomorrow. And for those, a lot of our customers actually, this was an immediate impact from health crisis now to a financial crisis now, because they had no opportunity to make money. And this is also true in regards to how we then in each of those phases try to support our hairstyling community by sharing advice, by activation of digital as the main communication tool to speak to our customers and to let them know on the way of how we see things and how we can help them and support them. And I will show you a couple of examples on how we actually do this. And we are working at the moment also very much on providing support, guidance, and guidelines in regards to how to reopen their salon, which is certainly in a very different phase, and it will be a very different salon experience in future compared to what it was in the past. So I want to show you a couple of examples what we did. I mentioned already, we changed our educational program, educating hairstylists in the use of our products, to a fully digital education. So more or less from one moment to the next one, every classroom training was canceled. Every in-salon training was canceled, and we moved to a digital education program. And all my brands have emphasized and accelerated these educational training, which sometimes is not only training about the product itself and how to apply them, but very often also supporting them in the emotional situation and giving them some themselves some true north, some orientation, some positive experience. So digital education was super important. Creating a digital community. I spoke about the fact that people are really short of money. They have lost their income. We are talking here anyway employees which are more on the lower end of income and salaries. So we were looking into ways how can we support emotionally our hairdressers and our community, and also providing them with some guidance on expectation for the future. How can they set up themselves for future success? How will they ensure to stay in touch with their end consumers? Because they will make money in future only if their end consumers are willing to go back into the salon environment, feel safe there, and keeping in touch with the end consumer was a key initiative. And you see here a couple of examples of community support, which by the way also includes donation. We have, as a global solidarity program, provided support to classical charity organization. Here in the US, we focus very much on supporting with N95 masks some local hospital nurses and doctors. We did product donation also specifically to those target groups. We are supporting from a monetary point of view the Professional Beauty Association, which is helping hairdressers in need in financial. So this as a second part of immediate reaction to stay in touch with the community and to support. Third aspect, and I mentioned this already, a lot of our stylists and salon owners are in deep cash flow trouble. And they are currently not knowing how to bring food to their table. So we created some voucher programs which encourage the stylists to stay in touch with the end consumer and to get prepaid service vouchers. So in order to generate cash flow now, we offered support and tools and assets, digital assets, to stay in touch with the end consumers, to invite them to stay loyal to their hairdresser, and to sell virtual vouchers, which they can, of course, then bring back into the salon once it's opened and receive their services. And these kind of programs and supports have very much helped to overcome this critical situation. Another example we are currently working on is as a global digital hair festival. So we are striving for the Guinness Book of Records to have the largest and biggest non-stop 24-hour educational session across the globe. So this chart is already old. I did it yesterday. It says 24 artists. It's now 42. So the session per artist is now 40 minutes. So we are very proud of on May 5th to have a across the globe hair festival, again, to create this community feeling, to share knowledge, insights, also to create here another opportunity to support local charities across the globe with the first ever digital 24/7 event, which we do believe again shows our demonstration of being close to our customers and helping the community building up their skills, which will enable them also to get back into the business sooner than later. The third phase, and I mentioned this as an important one, we do believe that the world tomorrow will look different and salon visits in future will look different. So we expect a slow and gradual comeback to a more normal situation. Also, realistically, we expect that about 20% of salons, which were open in January and February this year, might not reopen. So we hope this is a worst-case scenario. Time will show. We provide reassurance to the end consumer that their salon visit is safe. And we are working here together with the association, but also within our assets to support our stylists and salon owners to create a safe environment within their salon in order to invite customers and end consumers coming back. Overall, we expect that traffic visits per salon will decline, which, by the way, will also be implied by executive orders as we see that waiting rooms might not be allowed anymore. So there will be only a limited number of customers being allowed in a salon at a given time. So we expect some lower productivity. We expect that less expensive services will grow, whereas more long-term services and services which require more time in a salon might not be the first priority at this point of time. Hairdressers are used to double book appointments and to have more or less a immediate switch of end consumers within the chair. That won't happen anymore, and these are things which we will have to consider as, if you want, the new normal. Speaking to this, we are developing here also and helping and supporting, and I wanted to show this to you on how we are trying to help salon owners and stylists to have an idea on how this new world and the aspect of more hygiene, sanitization, disinfection will impact their salon environment, and we are helping them to make sure that they are provided with the right information and that they can create a safe environment for our customers. This as, let's say, the third phase, preparation of the reopening and actually supporting our customers in reassuring end consumers coming back. Looking at the crisis overall, and please allow me to give you some, I would call it hands-on experiences with crisis management. And I want to start with saying COVID-19 is a very unique crisis. However, crisis management is not unique. I do believe that a lot of crisis management steps we have taken can be applied to other crises as well. So one thing, top of the list for me, is establish a crisis management team before even a crisis hits. It is very important to know in your organization, in your team, whom do you have managing crisis? Whom do you need to manage a crisis? More efficient teams, 5 to 6 is probably max, which you should have, but then also with clear roles and responsibilities. And those roles and responsibilities within the crisis team might not be the same roles and responsibilities individuals have usually in the organization. So as an example, I think it's very important to have some very capable individuals who are capable to collect different information, to sort them, and holistically see the impact of those information, and providing leadership team with proposed action plans and next steps. A crisis is a 24/7 situation, and I would encourage everybody to create something like a situation room. The best is to have your crisis management team around yourself. So I was used to have crisis management teams in a situation room or a war room or peace room, whatever you call it. And we were physically in one room. This has changed, of course, now with COVID-19, but it's also very clear that you can create a situation room virtually. And we are doing this, for example, with Microsoft Teams. The communication itself and the tonality is key. You cannot over-communicate in a crisis. That's my personal opinion. And it's very important that you stay very consistent in regards to the tonality. The information might change, and you get a lot of new information on a very short period of time. You might also need to change the course of your direction. However, do not change the tonality. And the tonality is being authentic, being transparent, being honest. Answer questions if you can, but also let your team know which questions you cannot answer at this time. I think this is very important to come across authentic and honest, and to give, as a team and as a leader in the organization, also a clear orientation and a feeling for the importance of this moment, and to create trust in the organization. Super important for me is speed beats accuracy. Usually in a business world, we want to make sure that every decision we take is safe and we know what we do. However, in a crisis situation, speed overrules accuracy. You can never be right in a crisis. Do not intend to be accurate in anticipating a crisis situation and the impact. Speed is overruling accuracy. Last but not least, every crisis is an opportunity. There is a day after, there is an aftermath, and things will change. This COVID-19 crisis is a very unique one because it's a global crisis and impacts global economies and every business. At the same time, we see that this crisis will create opportunities. It is disruptive, the event itself, and the pandemic has been disruptive. At the same time, we will see some disruptive opportunities also to grow the business and to find new ways doing business in future. With this having said, I would like to thank you for your time today. It has been really a pleasure to exchange with you some thoughts, and I hand over to Gerhard.
Well, thank you, Stefan. This was certainly inspiring. I think we've all learned a lot, and we can see that by the number of questions that are pouring in now. I'm going to take them more or less in a chronological order. So the first couple of questions came in from Tim. I'm going to focus on your second question, Tim. He's interested in the impact that an economic downturn might have on your products, your product lines, and your production output. Any reactions to that, Stefan?
That's a very good question. I think we are working at the moment on the 4th different scenarios. With new information coming in, you have to readjust your scenarios, which impact products, promotions you are planning, new product launches you do. So this is an ongoing part, and I do believe that version 4 we are currently in won't be the last one. So important is to take new information into consideration and to have an agile and flexible organization which can adjust to changes coming up and is able to quickly adapt and flexible to adjust in terms of supply and to react in cooperation with your customers. So flexibility and agility are key performance indicators for the future and will define if you are a more or less successful company managing this crisis.
Well, that's excellent. It actually provides a perfect segue into one of the next questions, that flexibility and agility. of course, relates a lot to how you work with your employees right now, right? So Russ Young has a question about your employees working all from home. How do you coordinate activities between them, and how do you keep the morale up?
Yeah, this is a wonderful topic, and I have learned over the last couple of weeks a lot. I have learned to work with Skype, with Team, with Zoom, with Google Meets, you name it. We are working, of course, virtually with all the teams. Important is communication, and I said earlier on, you can't over-communicate. We have a daily crisis management team meeting. We have bi-weekly meetings with all general managers of the businesses, and are sharing all information. I'm sending out personal videos from home, recorded myself, with messaging to all employees. We have created WOW awards for individuals which have done something outstanding. We have coffee break events. This morning, I quickly dialed into a yoga event, which was all organized by our employees. So we try to engage our employees not only on classical tasks and roles in the job, but also helping them to be part of our community and to make them feel valuable and feel that they are belonging to a company, and that we share with our employees also our values.
I hope that not many of my staff members are actually listening in. Otherwise, I'll be forced to do a yoga session tomorrow.
Well, I can provide you with some insights here.
We have a question from Christine about the Global Digital Professional Hair Festival event. Is that an open invitation? Is there a link that we can help share?
Yeah, we will develop this in the next couple of days, and it will be posted on all our social media. We are targeting at the moment a group of artists which increased, which is about 10 million followers, give or take. So I will make sure that I can post this to you, Gerhard, for further communication within the university, but also it will be available on all our social media.
That would be great. Absolutely, we'd be happy to share with our community.
Sure.
So Wolfgang has a couple of questions. So he talks about what your predictions are for revenue and sales in the future.
Look, the immediate impact is very clear. Q2 is so we are talking about April to June. This is the quarter this year which will be mostly impacted. We expect clearly a double-digit decline of sales revenues. We also work together with market research institutes. Klein is one of those which has made some predictions, and we expect that probably here in the US we are talking about a decline in our business, in our industry, of between 20 and 25% as we see it right now. But again, this might change. This might become better. This might also become worse. I think it's important to have also some business scenario planning, which means you have to prepare for different scenarios also from a potential decline.
Well, in that regard also, Stefan, you mentioned that online, although it's a smaller part of your sales, has picked up. Would that mean that you're trying to shift more business online in the future also? Would that be one of the learnings?
We were already preparing for an acceleration of e-com business, because we have seen this over the last couple of years. We are working now also very closely with customers which have closed their doors. As we all know, their e-com business is spiking. At the moment, it's about 5 to 6 times their normal value. So we're working with our existing customers on e-com acceleration. But yes, we are also looking into, and we do believe that this disruptive event will further accelerate e-com. Everybody has made now some e-com experience, specifically here in the US, and we do believe this will be a new pattern, a new behavior of end consumers.
We have a question from Juan. He seems to have a special interest in Colombia, the country. He asks about expansion plans there. Is that something that you can answer that's within your purview?
Sure. Colombia is actually one of our strongest Latin American markets. We do have a very successful professional business there. We are also very successful with laundry. We have manufacturing side there. Parts of products we are selling here in the US are actually manufactured in Bogota. And actually, Bogota is quite interesting because we managed in the last couple of 2 days a specific situation, because in Bogota, the executive order of the government, the federal government, was very clearly that there was no manufacturing of hair color products, for example. So we have, with our ability and our manufacturing side over there, we have been able to get a permission to continue manufacturing hair color products in Bogota for the export business. So this executive order was somehow now adjusted, allowing the Colombian organization of us to continue manufacturing products which are designed for sale in the US, which is a very important part, because some part of my hair color products are being manufactured.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stefan. I'm going to ask you to address one more question live, as we have planned to end the webinar at 12:45, and we're getting very close to that timeline. Stefan has also volunteered or offered that he would answer any remaining questions after the webinar. We'll figure out the way of getting those answers to those who have asked the questions. So let me just pick one of the remaining questions, which is about conflicting and confusing information that's out there regarding the reopening of the economy. Do you work with different scenarios?
Yeah, we do, and we are working also very closely with Professional Beauty Association, because and we are part of this, and we do get a lot of insights also from state-based or county-based interpretation of executive orders. We have to prepare for a gradual reopening. We see Georgia has been very outspoken in the last 48 hours in regards to including, by the way, hairdressing salons and barbershops, which has received some big criticism on the media. So we are looking really at scenarios gradually, county by county, state by state based. We do not expect anymore a big switch on the light a scenario where everything will be open. And we are working with counties, with states, and with association together in order to ensure that we can do whatever we can support customers with in those areas to reopen their business in a safe way, with all the information they need, and giving them also the moral support. And by the way, this includes specifically also those stylists and hairdressers and salon owners which are living in areas where it is foreseeable that in the next couple of weeks there will be no salon opening. Look at the East Coast, New York specifically, in New Jersey, Connecticut, but also the West Coast, where we have to see that we have to keep our customers and our community more patient, and ensuring them that we will be there also if it's mid or end of May.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Stefan. You were a terrific speaker. I think we've all learned a lot, and thank you to all the attendees for taking time out of your day to join us. Before we go, I would also like to invite everybody personally to participate in two of our largest and most popular events at the School of Management annually. They've gone virtual for this year. The first one is our Prime competition, which is a student competition that focuses on the area of sustainability and corporate social responsibility. And the other one is our new venture fair. Projects submitted to these competitions will be open for a week for you to review and vote for a People's Choice Award. So please seek out those events, register, and vote for the projects. We also have a next Lunchtime Forward Together webinar planned for May 13. Our speaker on May 13 will be Ravi Soni, who is the founder and CEO of RKS Design, a major design firm, and he will speak about design thinking pre and post COVID-19. So watch your email and our social media for more information or go to our School of Management website.
We thank you for participating in today's Forward Together webinar series, brought to you by the School of Management at California Lutheran University. The School of Management offers a broad range of programs and community services. Whether you're looking to upgrade your career, locate current economic data from our Center for Economic Research and Forecasting, or a place to start and grow your business at Hub 101, our community startup space, we invite you to visit us at clu.edu/SOM and join the community as we move forward together.